They turned out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Ryan.
And hello, our listeners. Welcome to another episode of Dismembering Horror. I am Ryan.
I am Tim.
And today we are going to talk about Ju-on, the Grudge.
近くにお化け屋敷があるから行ってみようって。
お化け屋敷？
あの家でまた人が死にました。
僕、名前はなんて言うの？
亭主の佐伯武雄が。
I was a little confused at the beginning, because do you remember how they defined Ju-on? Because it's slightly different.
Which, yeah, Ju-on means the Grudge.
But they had a little tag. It's sort of more like a curse?
Yes. It's a curse. That was at the same, that was at the beginning of the previous two installments,
was it?
too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like the running thing is how. Wait, what do you mean? What were you confused about?
Not confused, just the sort of the different use of the English translation of like how it's being, like what word it is being used.
Yeah, like how a curse, we think of it as like something you do to someone, when this one was a curse as the result of a murder that had happened.
Right.
That sort of wasn't an intentional curse, but like the result of a horrific event.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, different sort of connotation there.
Sure.
Should we all right, well that's the movie, that's the title, that's our intro. How about we give the summary?
Okay. Is that my job?
I'm looking at you like, can you?
Yes, I can. Ju-on, the story of the many stories of a malevolent force trapped inside of a house that comes to get various people in a somewhat interconnected way.
Anyone who's been to the house, really.
Yeah. That's kind of it.
Mm-hmm. And sort of the main focal point story is the social worker,
right?
Rika.
Yeah, she sort of bookends the whole thing. And is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that seems like a good summary.
Yeah. There's a family living there. We learn bits and boops about what had happened there.
Right.
And that's sort of an ongoing thing in the series, which is fun.
Yeah, you should explain the series thing, because I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to save that for a thing of note.
A thing of note? Okay.
But maybe, yeah, I mean, that's actually probably applicable now, or better served now, which is that this is actually the third in the Ju-on series of feature films, where the first two were just called...
Oh, the first two are actually features?
Yeah, so they were... originally before the first two features, there were two short films, but they were like just a few minutes each, and they were part of like, I think a TV anthology show, horror show or something like that, or a special.
Got it.
And so the two features were straight to video. So they do have this aesthetic that's like shot on video too. I was surprised that released on video also meant... Or straight to video, I should say.
Meant shot on video?
Yeah, where it's shot on video,
Ooh, boy.
so they had that aesthetic to it, too. Which, actually, it is good that I mention this now, because I'm probably going to reference it. Just how it was different, and how it made my experience different from this one.
Cool.
But it was sort of... The thrust of, like, the first one, if I remember correctly, was, like, the... There's that one of the main reoccurring ghosts is the son Toshio who died there, and it was like a couple different people who worked at the school going to look for him, and like so it was closer tied to that original murder.
I see.
Yeah.
So Toshio is really sort of the anchor of this.
Yeah.
This thing.
I mean, the whole original murder.
Yeah. Well, right. That makes sense. But he's kind of the face of the Grudge of Ju-on.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
And maybe one more thing we should mention for the summary is
Oh, God. Jesus Christ. The few listeners that we have at this point, I'll just shut the thing off. That was it. I'm not sure that I appreciated that effect.
so then.
Other than it being annoying, I found it annoying.
Do you want to save that for what didn't work for you?
I didn't put it in my what didn't work, but yeah, probably.
The next step is giving it our rating of.
Yeah, what'd you think? I mean, would you pay money for this?
I would give it a hearty rent it recommendation, and I would totally buy it in the context of like a box set of like if I found for cheap on DVD or Blu-ray, like the whole Ju-on series for like $15 or something. I'd
Cool.
be so down to own that.
This is I get this. I'm beginning to get a little sense that this is sort of in your lane. Like that this is there's like a high appeal.
Yeah.
Not to say that this is like your favorite thing, but I like you have a glow about you right now.
I think it's cool.
Okay.
I think it's cool.
That's fair. I don't. I mean, I do. It is what it is to me. It's not my thing. And I think this is why I've largely kind of not dived in to this subgenre. There's something about it just isn't my thing. We'll get to what that is as we explore, but I would just say stream it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there's something. That's a hard stream it for me. Like that is not even close to a don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some value in this. And I'm just not quite sure if I know what it is yet.
Well, I mean, we're recording this immediately after watching
That's
this,
true,
and what
yeah.
you're saying is you haven't really watched much, both I guess J horror and A horror, meaning you separate Japanese horror and Asian horror, but there is overlaps.
I do separate them for sure, because the Korean stuff that I've seen has a much different tonality, and I really like it.
Can we jump into what worked?
Yeah.
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked for you?
Okay, well, you said Korean horror films have a tonality that work for you, and there's one overlapping thing, like, which I see in if we're counting, that as A horror, and this is A horror.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. A horror.
We need to start
horror.
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. We need
These
to
are
get Southern about
horror
it. It's more
films.
horror.
But how ghosts are depicted, like if you remember in The
Yes,
Wailing,
totally.
that they're just sort of there.
Yep.
And that, when done right, is something really unnerving that you don't see at all in Western horror films.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's like, what's the thing in Western horror film tends to go with ghosts in particular. I feel like they lean more on the like the decay of the body is sort of leaned on and depicted more in the ghost.
The shining bathtub ghost.
Yes, exactly. Like, or like, God, what's a good example of this? Even in like Crimson Peak.
Oh, I didn't see that actually.
The design, I feel like there's a through line in ghost design in Western horror that's more like, I think maybe the zombie influence really has had an impact on how it's depicted, because I almost always, it seems like even if it's initially depicted as just a person, you almost seem to always get to the version of that person that's decayed, and in its like what it would look like now
Yeah.
that it's been dead for a while,
Well,
which is kind of not necessarily the most logical
Right.
thing, right? Like, why would a ghost?
There's something, I mean, we're talking about
it's creepy
ghosts
as fuck
here,
and gross.
but there's something more quote unquote realistic, I think, about, you see him in its entirety as like, it's a guy. But
Right.
though the kid, the Toshio ghost in this, he does have the scars or the wounds of the beating,
Yeah.
the bruises of being
But they go
beat.
back and forth, right? Like you've got Toshio as just a kid, and
Oh, yeah.
that's sort of a misdirect or something. I'm not convinced of certain choices in this. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe I need more time to think about
Right.
it. But yeah, you have two versions of him, right? You have him in the sort of the ghost makeup.
Well, I like that as just there are rules that we can't understand.
Sure.
And that's just one of the unnerving things for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, for sure. That sort of gets. Well, do you have a long list of things that work?
I guess if I have a glow about me.
Let's
then
do it.
I'm excited
I wanna
to
hear 'em.
share. I mean, I tried to start big. I just love, and this is just something I feel like is just what makes these films successful. It's just got a constant sense of like dread and foreboding and unnervingness.
Yeah.
Like I said, which is so key for me in a horror movie to just have that through and through. But this is just up there with as far as horror films doing it well for me.
Yeah.
In that specific sense of just, it doesn't matter what's happening or what's going on. There's just always this like where you think a non-horror fan, like how, they react to this when I say, you just don't want to be there. Then they'd say like, well, why do you want to be there? And I go, well, because I'm not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That's
it's like,
the thing.
It's so true. I love it when people give this question of like, why do you like that?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't know, because I do. Like, what? Like,
Right.
Why do you like fucking Sex in the City?
No, I mean, you
do.
You get the differences though, where it's like really like, yeah, you're right as far as because I do should be enough, but you get how how enjoying stories of people being murdered
Kinda
is not your everyday like Eddie Haskell, Leave It to Beaver kind of thing that people accept.
Yeah, I get it. I had a woman ask me the other day why I liked My Favorite Murder.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was like, because it's interesting, and people are.
I was there.
And,
I was
and
there.
weird and
I was
interesting.
over.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
overhearing that. I'm like,
Yeah, and I'm like,
just listen to
just
it.
because.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Whatever. We're on a weird tangent.
Well, I mean, that's an overarching tangent, which maybe we'll touch on when we just did. But so, I mean, what did you think of that? Like,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It is one of my. It's. I don't have a ton of things that worked for me. Like, I don't have this long, extensive list, but that's definitely one. I remember thinking, sort of an interesting question as a filmmaker, if you're really trying to creep the audience out or get them tuned up, do you let them know that something creepy is, like, do you show them what's creepy and then let them sort of let that settle in and use the anticipation of watching the character who doesn't know discover it? Like, is that more effective, or is the sort of the ambiguity, of sort of setting the atmosphere as creepy, but without like leading the audience, and this, I think this actually does both it at different times, and both are effective just in slightly different ways.
Just the sheer formatting of having it segmented, and then we know an ending's going to happen is the first thing you were talking about, as far as knowing something's going to happen. But then as far as like the second thing you're saying, maybe you can help me clarify
ambiguity.
It again. But yeah,
creepy ambiguity.
When you're in the location, that ties to, like, I loved the casting of the house, how it's so perfectly unassuming.
Yes, but there is such an oddness to it.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
that because of how it's shot?
It's interesting.
It's a few things.
Yeah, you see different. It's the same house in the previous ones, which is so cool, and in the latest one, which I want to talk about at some point too.
You mean the latest one, Japanese one, or
yeah.
Okay.
It's just that house. Yeah, you're right. There's something there's something weird, but it's just some weird house that they were able to shoot at for some reason in the originals, I'm sure.
Maybe this is a little bit of a Kubrick-y sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how there's this whole, like, you can fall down a Reddit, like, just bottomless pit on the actual, what am I trying to say? The actual architecture of the hotel in The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, if people have, like, mapped it out, like, if you were to go around this corner that they walk around, you would not be where you end up. And there's all this stuff about, like...
this house is clearly not that. It's just a house.
But it doesn't... like, the inside and
it doesn't have an inviting flow.
Yeah.
There's no, like, main... Maybe, I don't know, Japanese architecture in houses.
I don't either, yeah.
But just to have that sort of boxy entrance area.
Yeah.
There's no actual sort of nice entrance to the house outside. It's a sort of, like, behind a gate and some trees.
Yeah. And you walk through the front door and immediately are hit with this, like, barred staircase that's, like, in your face and also totally obscured, right? And I think I think there's something about the filming of this. They really take advantage of keeping things a little bit obscured, a little bit out of frame, like stuff's a little, like, around the corner. And there are camera moves that emphasize that. That stuff all really, really worked for me. Mm-hmm. Where I felt claustrophobic in it.
Yeah, like you just don't want to go to that upstairs.
No.
It's creepy.
And these like low to high angles where you're kind of over the shoulder, but you're looking almost straight up. Mm-hmm. And actually, they do the reverse too. They do these high to lows where you're like in the ceiling looking down. It's just unnerving.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think, like, what lenses are they using? Like, because it's not super wide. It's kind of just like, it's probably just a 50. It's like nothing crazy. It kind of looks like there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but it is unnerving.
I'd be curious to look at it
good
again.
Job.
Yeah, I'll show this to our DP friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the casting of the house itself. That kind of ties to I liked the idea. Yeah, well, like I was saying, the house is unassuming. Well, also the ghosts just appear kind of in like unassuming locations and ways. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, I loved how the ghost kid Toshio like would just appeared underneath a table.
Yeah.
At one point, or sorry, I should say a table like out at a restaurant, like during the day. Like... And then my like favorite sort of ghost appearance moment was when Rika. Yeah, Rika. She is since he's like the caretaker, she's pushing like the old guy on the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And in the reflection, you see Toshio
real brief.
But it's great because there's no music cue, there's no like heavy sound effect or anything.
Yes, thank you. Finally,
it is just like. Oh God! It gave me that chill.
Tired of the loud noise jump scare like match.
Right.
You know, anytime something is there,
which you see how unnerving it was.
It's literally this. It's like it's literally the filmmakers. I'm talking about the bad version. Is the filmmakers going, look at this, and it's like, dude, fuck, stop. You know, like I'm gonna see it or I'm not, and you know, I kind of want to have that left up to me, and this like. The forcefulness of the modern jump scare is, sure, it will make you jump because it's so fucking loud. How can you not jump? But that's not scary.
Right.
You know, it's annoying.
Right. Well, I guess if
in
a loud theater, like when we've
dude.
seen the movies, when we talked about The Cure last time.
Oh my God. Yeah, but there was a little more content behind their sound design. I felt like it wasn't so gratuitous like Insidious.
No, all I meant was, you're right. Insidious would be the better example as far as its loud sounds. Yeah. So anyway, this film,
cool.
That part, at least, I liked that kind of appearance and those appearances of like, you think maybe you're just going to be isolated. And that's what I like about these movies too, is like, I think maybe it's just when you go into the house, the thing's going to get you.
Right.
But it's like, you've got the curse, you got the Ju-on, you got the grudge.
Right.
and it can happen when you're, oh yeah, I mean, I just have like individual moments I loved. Like, I mean, just that's what my glow about is just it's cool, just the different ghost story moments. The like what did I have? Sorry, what did I have?
Hit that vocal fry, baby.
Like the security guard going to check in the bathroom and just the dark, the aura of darkness going around him.
Yeah.
When she's in the bed watching TV and the newscaster's face gets distorted.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, that was so creepy and cool and well done. The ghost over the mother at the beginning, that was just like the sort of the black cloud ghost cutting to the close up of the eyes.
See, now I agree that these moments are really good, but as I'll get into in the next section, there's a failing within them for me.
Okay.
That we'll talk about.
All right.
But I agree wholeheartedly that the intention and the sort of creation of those moments is really good.
The moments themselves, just
right.
the fact that they
right.
are happening. That's the thing. Like even when we talked about The Ritual, like, and that's sort of thing with horror movies that differentiates them from other movies. Why we're doing the podcast is like you can still enjoy and appreciate the horror moments. So that is where I'm coming from too.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of moments where I just was sort of maybe what's the right word? Just elated, I guess. I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. It was fun hearing your reactions like that.
Like,
I liked when you laughed. A moment I liked where it was a justified laugh. I felt the same thing where it's like she's it's the schoolgirl character who's the daughter of the police guy who was
Izumi
previously involved with the case. And she's getting pursued by the three ghost girls. And she closes the door on them and like just kind of puts a couple chairs in front of the door. And like I was like that. It's like,
it's
oh God,
a sliding door.
What is that gonna do?
But so
like
funny to me.
It's great because there's a little bit of payoff, and I feel like this is kind of an A horror J horror vibe of just when the ghost just sort of they just walk like into it and just sort of push it aside, exactly how you'd expect it to maybe go. They just they walk into the chair and they just sort of scoot it aside without caring about it.
Right, because normally I'm such a critic of sort of logic flaws, and in this particular case especially, the filmmaker obviously knows that this is a logic flaw, and they're saying no, we know. The character is so freaked out that they're doing something totally irrational, illogical that will not work.
Yeah.
They're being chased by ghosts, and they put chairs in front of a sliding door.
Right.
Like, the sliding door doesn't open into the chairs. It like makes no sense, right? That's not going to stop anything. And the ghosts are like, this isn't going to stop us.
Yeah, they don't even acknowledge it, which was
great.
Creepy moment to just have them like, just to give them that physicality in the space, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Did it?
Okay, no, go on. No, I feel like what I was going to ask might fall more into what didn't work.
We're almost there.
But it did, but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, we mentioned like how it's broken into chapters and has that formatting. I think I really was into that. Okay. I liked that. That was it. Sort of gave you like the part of the appeal of the horror anthology film where you have some sort of segmentation to go off of to sort of propel the structure. I liked that. And while you didn't sort of have an overall classic,
narrative.
Plotting or narrative exactly. You did have it was sort of like putting together a puzzle of like you were putting together the mystery, which is always for me in ghost stories or some kinds even like slasher films, putting together Jason and Freddy's backstory.
Right. I mean, because this is, I think this is the umbrella of what type of movies I love is sort of the search to figure it out a little bit. I love like mysteries and thrillers and horror films, and especially horror films that have this sort of why is this happening? Like, what is the cause of this. That, or like you're saying, a slasher is basically just a murder mystery, right? Like to a certain degree, we know who the murderer is, but the people who are getting murdered don't, right? And if there's a point, like Friday the 13th, there's a point. It's not Jason. It's his fucking mom. Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Spoiler alert, guys.
Then just even in the later. But just putting together the history, Freddy's maybe a better example of like in the third Nightmare on Elm Street, you sort of get like how he was born and stuff like that. Which, if this is the third Ju-on movie, I don't know if I don't think there are any really revelations, but you just sort of do put together just sort of, the glimpses of the original murder. Just things like that. And the detectives figuring out like, there's been previous murders at this place. Actually, everyone who's lived here since then.
Yeah,
which is
nobody
great.
thought to say something.
Right?
Don't buy this house.
That's actually in the previous one. Some of the segments are about like the realtors who currently own them, and then they like send someone in who's sort of an intuitive person who works for them. Shit. Yeah, and there's a cool moment where she's like, if you drink sake, like, and if you leave a sake bottle in the house and spirits get to it and you drink it and it tastes off, then you're sensitive to spirits and something's going to happen to you. But if you don't taste the sake being off, then you aren't as prone
to getting haunted.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool. I like that.
What if...
Sorry, that was in a previous one. That wasn't in this one.
What if you burnt your tongue just before you drank the sake and you can't taste it, that it's off because of that?
Then you'd be pretty screwed.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
You just have to wait for Toshio to show up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's actually something that I should have put in things that worked, I think. Or maybe just things that I liked.
That's what this is.
Him fucking Toshio meowing was equal parts real unnerving and real dumb to me. Like, in a good way. Not like I didn't hate it, but I was just like, that is pretty fucking corny, but I kind of love it.
It's cool. I mean, it's just that sort of unique, like, odd, well, I guess sort of like him and the cat dying were some sort of conjoining.
Sure.
And that just...
Did we
those
see
two disparate elements?
Yes, we did see the cat dying in the very opening. That's right.
Stuff.
I kind of forgot that. Yeah, Toshio's dad. Which was like
the casting of that dad, right? Is that kind of where you're going?
Well, just the moment of him grabbing the cat, I was like, "Ooh, Jesus Christ!"
But yeah, I did want to mention that and didn't write that down. Whoever plays that dad, who's the same guy in the originals, and I hope the rest of them. Cool. Is just like, I mean, because he's mostly just in the flashbacks and the pictures and things. He just has this intensity to him. Like, you could see, sort of like Jack Nicholson, the Shining, just someone who's like, okay, I can see this guy containing a lot of pent up something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
A real live wire, this guy. I liked there's some cool moments with the lighting, like when the husband at the beginning gets after he finds his wife sort of paralyzed or freaked out or whatever, we see the evil go over him,
right?
And it's just like the darkness comes out of the room and over his face.
It's a good effect.
Yeah,
I mean, it was clear, but it didn't feel to me like just a lighting effect. Mm-hmm. There was some, like I said before, there was some atmospheric sort of like vagueness to the lighting change that didn't make it feel too on the nose.
Right.
But it was really good.
Just a lighting change, but
I know, right. Something about it made it not feel like, as a filmmaker, I wasn't like, oh, they just, whatever. They just fucking put a flag in front of the light. There's something more to it.
It was just keyed into the right amount, whereas you said the atmosphere totally.
It was good.
That sort of, I was trying to think of other examples. I liked the lighting when, I guess similarly, how it switched to sort of the flashbacks of the schoolgirls in there.
We'll get to...
Yeah, which was just the lighting changes during that, where it's like you can be in the house at night and you flash back to stuff at the daytime.
Totally
I really
good effect.
liked that.
Yeah. You knew, you were like, oh shit, but like we're now not in Kansas anymore. You know what I mean? It's like suddenly you're with this guy and it's like, it's clearly nighttime. We watched him walk in there nighttime and then he turns and the room is lit with sunlight and you're like, what's fucking happening here?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a perfect example of this just tonally setting up these things that are just off, right? Like our brain is going in a certain direction and having the rug kind of pulled out from under us to be like, haha, I know you thought it was nighttime, but like, just kidding, it's not, but it is. And having that sort of, what would you call that? Just that almost flip-flopping of reality, really, like, it knocks us off our pins, right?
Yeah,
and
it's like that questioning your sanity.
Right, and that is so core to horror like effectiveness to me, is keeping the audience kind of off center always. And this does it. I mean, it's there's some good stuff in here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's much to say about this, but just, and we already mentioned it, but that when you enter the house, you're affected by it. I just like that as a grander, like, you can't escape it, is just really unnerving to me.
Yeah, that's true.
And just the idea that the horrific act that occurred there is just such an act of evil that it just permeates into its physical space.
Yeah.
This way. I just that's other stuff that I just think is so cool about.
But did you feel like you, well, maybe because you watched the other ones, you had more context, but did you feel you really had a grasp of the reason for this sort of malevolent force? Like was in other words, was the opening scene where it's clearly sort of a flashback of a dude flipping out, presumably killing his wife, which I guess we get that payoff, but I mean, I think it was pretty well established that his wife has been killed or a woman has been killed. Was that enough to like, hold on to as a story sort of setup?
Yeah. I mean, it's like in the Shining movie versus the book of like, you know, the book more being, I mean, I haven't read it since high school, but I think in the book wasn't it played up more how it was like an Indian burial ground or something like that.
I think you're right. Actually.
But I mean, what I immediately thought of The Shining again. I know I've referenced it before a few times. I think already.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Both Ghost Bathtub, Jack Torrance. Well, it's a great movie.
Yeah,
that's why it's a ghost story. So it's sort of a good staple to go to.
No, very true.
Anyways, just that in that movie, like this one, just a murder that took place, like a family, a within the family murder that took place, is just, like I said, it's a big enough evil act that just in some unknown way of how, the universe works in this case, that just causes this Juon.
Yeah. I think should we get?
I mean, I didn't want to know anything more than that, so that works great for me.
That's interesting. Cool.
That's what makes it work for me, is that it's just like that's all you need. The simplicity of like an evil act occurred here.
Okay.
I didn't need to think like a shaman used to live there or something.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Should we move on?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So things that didn't quite work for us.
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
I guess we already mentioned one, kind of, sort of. I don't know, maybe we didn't.
What was it?
But I mentioned when I was happy at the Toshio appearing in the reflection, how there was no musical sting.
Yes.
So for me, I thought they should have cut out like 80% of the music.
Holy fuck, the music is real bad and real distracting.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much fucking creepier this movie would be with either a really good soundtrack score,
just no soundtrack,
nothing.
Yeah,
it would be fucking crazy.
Do you remember
Eerie with nothing?
Like there was, I think in the first, was it the first or second segment when when like she's just kind of like going around the house and Toshio just kind of keeps appearing around her.
Yeah.
And it's just the music is like just going for
It's
10
the
minutes throughout.
worst synth.
I was imagining
fucking-
it without it, and it was just like this would have been the creepiest thing without it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but and your shirt is actually making me think maybe this is why I'm thinking this. You're wearing a Twin Peaks shirt, but there is cheesy
Laura Palmer's face.
There's cheesy 90s synth in Twin Peaks. That's like the sort of the core musical element of it, but it works because it's kind of satire and it's sort of like fucking what is this world?
Yeah.
This had that, but it's wrong.
So
like it's fucking wrong for this movie.
Right. I think this was my only things I had that didn't work for me were really just things that felt like the filmmaker was maybe excited to have a feature like a theatrical release budget to work with.
Sure.
So the soundtrack in the first two, they sounded like it was the same configuration that like Are You Afraid of the Dark has. Like,
Yes.
It sounded just like that. The originals. So this one was a step up from that, except for that one shimmer, which they used a couple times.
God. Yeah. It's so weird.
So-
it's so fucking cheesy.
But yet, as cheesy as it was in the originals, maybe I'm just not remembering it quite as I don't know, maybe I'm not remembering it well and it was just working for other reasons, but sort of like it didn't bother me as much. It was so just I just accepted it so readily. It was like the effect of watching the first Evil Dead versus
Sure.
Evil Dead 2, where
Yeah,
the first one actually has, more of that actual sense of dread and nerviness to it. I gotta say, the originals, they really did that just because they were low budget. They were more affecting that way than this one, where you see the filmmaker just, all right, great, I can afford a composer that sounds better than the previous music for the whole movie. I'm just gonna do it. And it would have been so much better without it, Tim.
But I hired the wrong guy.
No, that's what I meant. And you just get excited because you have the budget
no.
for the first time.
Yeah, it really was distracting.
But like when it's just the option of just, in this day and age, just hitting a button and taking it away, it's so tragic to me.
I know
what this movie could have been. I would have been like, yes, Tim, I would buy this movie.
Oh, wow. I want somebody to do that. Can somebody take the most egregious scene in this movie that has that fucking composing in it, take it out and put it on YouTube, please, and tweet at us or something and let us know, because I want to watch it.
It's like those great those music videos with just the diegetic sound. Have you seen those?
Yes.
Someone needs to do that for this.
Oh my god.
I mean, maybe that exists somewhere,
So I have to give a slightly different opinion from something that worked for you. I didn't like the kind of looseness of the narrative thread. It probably mostly why I didn't like it was that I felt like I was spending too much time trying to catch up a little bit from segment to segment. I was like, wait, where are we now? Are we chronological? Is this scene occurring in real time after the last scene, or are we jumping in time? Did we go back in time? Because they do go back in time, right? The first scene is Rika.
Yeah.
The second segment. The first segment is Rika. The second segment is prior to her showing
the
up.
The sister calling the phone sort
right.
of says it's...
The third one is then the sister, I think, again, but it's after the second one, but before the first one. And I was like, shit, I'm spending too much time trying to figure out where the fuck I am. And that, it just, like, it caused me to fall out in a way that I didn't want to fall out.
That's it. I mean, I have the same reaction as far as, viewing it and trying to hold something onto it, and it's feeling like I'm playing catch up. But
it didn't bother you.
No, yeah, for me, it's just all about the horror moments in a way and getting to those. And I just sort of feel like if I were to see it again, then I would just enjoy it more.
Yeah, hell yeah, because you know what the fuck's going on.
Right. But that doesn't, it's...
I get what you're saying.
I follow the important stuff that's going on. This person who I know is this person is going to this place for this reason.
Right. But I kept thinking that I was going to get more to latch onto as to the why from, like, that it was going to build towards a broader why this is all happening from segment to segment. And it didn't really. And I think that I kept waiting for a thing that just like we said before, like the opening scene gives you what it wanted to give you, and it's up to you whether or not that was enough.
Yeah.
And I think I thought there was going to be some larger payoff that I was waiting to get clues for or something, and then it's not really that movie.
It's weird. Yeah, I feel like the originals actually did have that a bit more as far as just a little more like pieces
why
being
didn't we
dropped.
watch those?
I didn't know they existed till like 2 nights ago.
Damn it.
And then I watched them. Yeah. I have them though. I'll give them to you if you
cool.
actually care to watch them.
Yeah, why not? I've got so much time.
Great.
I'm just full of free time
for watching more J-horror.
No, this is not true. I need more hours in the day.
Okay. Well, get this. So the originals, they're like 70 minutes each. And the second one, a half hour of it is just literal segments from the first one.
Oh.
So you just fast forward.
Through
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
Sweet.
So it's like the 70 minutes plus the 40 minutes. You know, it's like a long movie.
Yeah, I could handle that.
Yeah.
I'm wiping my brow.
But if I remember correctly, it was the original. They did have like what you said as far as you're kind of playing catch up while you're watching it. Okay, wait. Where? What time is this taking place? Okay, did this already happen? But I felt like you do get a little more just sort of drops of nuggets of like, of the original. And stuff.
I needed some morsels.
You know what? You might like the is it the Sarah Michelle Gellar remake? Because I'm pretty sure.
I mean, you know how I feel about SMG.
Oh, right. You do not like Buffy.
She's my Patrick Wilson.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I part of me thinks that I've seen at least some of that movie now.
It does take like literal like moments. If I remember, I
think you're right.
And like the boy looking through the elevator window.
Yeah, totally.
And I think maybe even like the security camera footage. I'm pretty sure, and it coming out from under the bed. I think that was the big moment under the covers of the bed.
Yeah. Can we? Speaking of the bed, this really didn't work for me. Who puts their pillow at the foot of the bed? It's like.
You mean, is it who puts their pillow there or who sleeps?
Who sleeps with their head at the non-wall side of the bed? Mm-hmm. The open side of the bed, which I would consider, in general, the foot of the bed, right? Mm-hmm. Listen, I've done it when I was a kid, because you're trying to mix things up. And you're like, man, I've been sleeping with my head over here the whole time. Wonder what it would be like with my head at the other end. And you do it, and here's what it's like. Your fucking pillow falls off the bed in the middle of the night, and then you don't have a pillow, and you wake up, and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Maybe that was
it's my own horror movie right there.
That was just her night of doing that.
So maybe this should have been in what worked for me because it was terrifying, the idea of sleeping with your head at the foot of the bed.
Or maybe just the pillow was there for some reason.
I think the reason is because they wanted that shot, and you can't get that shot of the
I forget
covers.
when she went in.
I mean, you can, but
maybe I know she wanted to be looking towards the door, right? So did she just sort of hop underneath the covers and then grab the pillow?
No, because the pillow was there. Before she even got to the bed, my brain went, "What is that?"
All right.
On a similar note,
to pillow placement,
I have a couple these are dumb things that didn't work, but they're just things that like
get them over with.
Okay, they're not even that. Oh no, these are things of note. Never mind.
Okay, save it for things of note.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have I was talking about the music. Just felt like, oh yeah, I want to say that just one more thing about the music and the budget. What it did, the wall to wall music, not only just would have moments been creepier without it, but again, comparing to the originals that had that similar sort of sound design elements where the scares moments or just sort of the associations with how the ghosts moved and did things had very strong like sound design to them, but that would just sort of it lessened the impact by just having so much music, you know, either next to it or on top of it. But like the originals, they really stood out more. Like there was a distinct sound I remember of that they make when crawling, how they crawled.
It's almost bone crunchy.
And in the original, it just stood out, and you're just like, ugh, and it was just constant, you know, on itself. Yeah. So I was sad that the music overwrote some of the key sound design ghost moments.
Yeah. You know, okay, so in that same sort of realm, I think one of the things, it's hard because I think at the time, now granted, this was made in 2003. This isn't that old of a movie.
Wait, I have 2002.
Oh, really? Okay, well, either way. It's, you know, it's post-2000, right? Like, it's modern. That sounds weird, like anything pre-2000 isn't modern, but it's like, it's pretty fucking recent.
16 years ago. Okay. That's why we were allowed to watch it, because I hadn't watched it probably since it came out.
Well, so what I was going to say is, I think some of the things that fail for me in this is that in terms of effect, actual effect, like FX and design and even like these sound things, even the just sort of the depiction of the ghosts, you've seen, since this movie came out, you've seen this so much in like the realm of YouTube, like, oh, I'm going to make a scary video on YouTube. Right, they've stolen from this, right? So at the time, I get why this worked, but now we got so oversaturated with like, you know, these exact same effects being used in a sort of lesser realm that it now feels cheap because we're used to seeing it on a cheaper platform.
Just because, the Japanese ghost girl walking that way and that sound like I like making, those were just copied ad nauseum and everything. Like since then,
it's the same thing as like that fucking Goita song. Or Gautier song, the like somebody that I used to know song, that like you hear it the first time and you're like, it's a pretty fucking great song. I really like this song. And then by the end of the year, if you hear the opening fucking like burr, 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 of that song, your brain melts because you're like, I don't want to
talking about.
That's fair, but it's the this song has been overplayed to a point of wanting to fucking murder.
But you're talking about literally a same song. But I will.
But I'm just saying the effect that has.
It's different for me as far as I don't.
It's knee-jerk to me.
I wasn't even thinking of everything that's copied when watching it, because for me it's like this will always work in itself because it is pure, or it is closer to it is the original source. Yes. It's like how, like, you know, Airplane is, you know, that will always stand up.
I think
what it is.
I think I have a stronger reaction to that stuff because I don't like Airplane.
Okay, it's silly and dated for you now. Yes, you know all the jokes. Yes, which in defense, like me and my friend Terrence, we rewatched. You know, something that we always quote to each other, Wayne's World. Oof. And it was just like, which we thought was like one of the best movies.
Yeah, of course. But it was just because we were like, well, you're even younger. Yeah, well, you were like
we
prime.
Just knew it so well. But like letting, you know, the 5-10 years pass and watching it again, it was like, well, I just remember all these moments and I don't need to see them. Yeah. And it's just not.
No, it's true.
Don't
go back.
But for whatever reason, like it's as I said, pure. This is it incarnate. They're like genuine. They have a certain amount of genuineness that, like, to copy it just doesn't. It's essenceless.
Right. And I think that you are much more forgiving in general because you're looking. You're just coming from a different sort of angle when you're watching these movies. I'm so hyper prone to looking for something to nitpick that I find it, you know, so it's just a difference in how we view it. But
or do you have something?
Oh, I do have one thing. Did this bother you? there's a handful of little jump scare type moments where it's like a door rattles or a phone rings or a door slams behind. It's always like behind them or like surprising little moments. There's like 5 of them.
I don't remember.
They're not like big moments, but the thing that just caught me is that the reaction. I think this is a sound design fuck up, or they just thought, I don't know. Point being, the noise of the door slamming would happen, and there would be like a half a second to a second between the noise and the actual actor's reaction, and it just felt like the timing just felt off. Like it felt like that's not how we would, the door would slam and you go, holy shit, right away. Like almost on top of it. And there was space in between those things. And it kept happening. And I was like, this is odd and feels
I literally don't
strange.
remember anything that was an intended jump scare moment.
Oh, really?
Thinking about, and now that I'm thinking about it, I liked this about this.
Yeah.
I can't think of any examples.
There's 2 phone rings. There's a door rattle. There's a door slam.
I just thought of those as the phone ringing. Like they weren't jump scares to me.
But the reason I think of them as jump scares is because the actors have a reaction, but the reaction is late.
I want to watch them again because I feel like we may have just totally viewed them differently.
I'm sure.
I guess obviously, yeah. I mean, the one other thing, that was also I think a product of too much budget and maybe the filmmaker being excited to do stuff was just some of like the swifty camera movements of like the dolly just going past the person and going around the corner. Yeah. Like, again, I'm keep comparing it to the originals. They did not have that at all. And just these like static shots that were still in this movie and helped with the unnervingness.
That's a really interesting question. Mm-hmm. There's virtually no handheld in this movie.
Yeah.
Is there any do you remember if there's any in the other ones? So the upgrade in this stylistically was putting shit on rails. Yeah.
So that's actually
really
the
interesting.
rail dolly shots of like, I don't know, they just didn't add anything for me. It just sort of felt like it was trying to be more Hollywoody or something.
I agree.
And it took away from the atmosphere.
Look at this cool move we can do.
Right. I did like that one shot of when it's from the outside going past the 2 sliding doors toward the beginning. That was like just that's
just a nice dolly.
It's a straight
tracking
dolly
shot.
left, right? Yeah, that was cool.
It's pleasing.
So I'm talking, more about,
these weird circular sweeps with a pretty wide lens, but real close up on the face. So you're getting the background, but the person's face is like right up in frame.
Would have been so much better without them. Yeah. Just like the music.
That's interesting. I did notice that.
And both of those things I couldn't say about the original 2, which while hokier did not have those.
Yeah.
I was more forgiving of the hokey music and sound effects and low budget stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, that's all I had for things that didn't work for me, were just those budget things. Do you have anything else?
I guess the only other thing that I have, we kind of touched on, is the and you're sort of making the conceit that you didn't need it, but I kept thinking there was going to be a broader subtext, and there just kind of it didn't exist, and it didn't also exist in a sort of larger form. Like, is there a social subtext to this? Maybe there is culturally that I'm not seeing, but like, in a lot of movies you're taking like teen sex is a underlying subtextual theme, right? And you're saying, I don't know, it's sort of you're saying there's a lesson to be learned in this, and I kept thinking that there would be something in that realm, and it didn't. Don't murder your family.
Right.
I guess
this was really subtextual and not played up at all. But I hope I'm not totally off the mark in this one. But I feel like maybe there's that. I mean, this is just a human thing, but I was going to say for Japanese culture, or this is just a larger cultural thing. But I want to say for Japanese culture of like the idea of sort of sweeping problems under the table and not being allowed to talk about them. Okay. And so the missing signs, like of the children, like showing how those go from fresh to old.
Okay.
And just sort of the idea, yeah.
See, I can get behind that if I, just thought about it a little bit more.
But
yeah.
if it was tied in any sort of more showy way, then I wouldn't have been interested.
No, and I'm not. I'm certainly not asking for it to be more blatant. I just wasn't keen in on anything, even on a subtle level. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, am I missing something, or was that just not their intention?
Yeah, maybe it's...
And it might not be.
The formatting for me, where it's just like, this is just a ghost story cut into ghost stories.
Right.
It doesn't make me need or want sort of what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. So things of note.
Yeah.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to rail through these real quick. Even though I know it's 2002 or whatever, this was stylistically and sort of imagery and like the props and shit were so fucking 90s to me that I was like
the landline phone,
like the landline phone, the giant TV remote controls. What else? The clothes in general, but in particular the first, not the killer husband, but the first husband's like super baggy suit, just like oversized baggy pant suit.
Right.
It's like hammer pants almost. Right. Just little things like that just were. I just thought they were charming and
very late 90s.
Yeah, just made you feel like, oh yeah, that's when this movie was made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's noteworthy if we're watching circa 2000 movies.
Yeah.
It's a new old for us.
Right. That's so weird.
I don't have anything, because my only thing of note was that it was that this was the third. I do think it's actually cool that it was an actual sequel, which I know you've probably already gotten from me talking about it in context, but that it doesn't have
so
any elements of remaking the original two.
Oh, that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's done as a direct sequel. It is the third, not just in the franchise, but third, like, as a sequel.
But so there's also, like, when I looked this up, there's also Ju-on 2 and 3.
So
are those the fourth and fifth in this series? Like, I'm confused.
Note the chronology. So there is so this is Ju-on. The previous ones are Ju-on the Curse, and then Ju-on the Curse 2. Those were the two straight-to-video ones I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
And now this one was Ju-on the Grudge, and there is
had a budget.
Yes, and was the first one to be released in the U.S.
Oh.
And the Ju-on and there's also Ju-on the Grudge 2. But as far as the Grudge 1, 2, and 3, those are all the American ones.
Right. I get that. Totally get that. But there's... Okay. I see what you're saying.
And then there are further ones. This was a pretty cool, noteworthy thing, I thought, was there was 2 that were released. I think they were... Oh, yeah, so there's 2 that were released, and I want to see these, called Ju-on Black Ghost and Ju-on White Ghost.
I noticed that.
And this is the only time I've ever heard of this in, I guess, film, but they were released simultaneously, where the first screenings of them happened at the same time separately. So you had some people seeing White Ghost first, and some people seeing Black Ghost first.
Why?
Just because they were...
Are they different movies?
Kind of like, the Arrested Development Season 4, where it's like, this is intended to be watched in either order, so we're going to release them to force that onto you,
I don't know that reference, I'm sorry.
Oh, it is... The Arrested Development Season 4
I know the show,
was like, it was one of the first, I think, sort of more, like, made for Netflix series. I forget how it was in the chronology.
That was the season
so
that was...
it was intended as, you can watch this in any order, and it's sort of all...
Interesting.
So,
but they're two. So the black and the white are totally different movies.
Yes, they're different films. I haven't seen them, and I haven't read what they are about. Okay. But I think they're compendium films somehow, and it's like, but what you say? Why release them that way? Well, I don't know. I think that's cool to sort of force it on people that they can be watched, in either order.
Yeah. I get you. That's cool. Interesting marketing. Sort of
exactly
idea.
Marketing thing too. Anyway,
cool.
That was noteworthy. Do you have anything else you found noteworthy? Anything of note?
Not really.
All right. How we? I mean, we've been talking about this a while. Can we get to our RecommenDEADtions?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're done with Ju-on here.
I don't really have. I've been so busy. I have nothing. Totally unrelated to anything that we ever talk about. I'm reading a cool book about relationships called Attached, and it's cracking my brain open. So check it out.
All right.
If you're having any relationship problems, or you're unlucky in love, read Attached.
Then read about love.
Yeah.
Just read it.
It'll help you out.
Read it in a book.
I promise.
I said if we're done with Ju-on, we are not done with Ju-on. I am going to recommend Dead to you, Tim, and anyone else. Sadako versus Kayako, which I watched exclusively on Shudder when it came out.
Nice.
And it actually kind of made me want to go back and watch like all these Ju-on and Ringu films.
Gotcha.
Because I thought it was so good. Just kind of like how I was raving about the new, Japanese Godzilla film.
Sure, yeah.
Similar to that, where it was actually... So yeah, sorry, Sadako versus Kayako, it's like The Ring meets Ju-on.
Oh, right.
But it's also The Ring versus Ju-on. Yeah. And it delivers on that premise, but actually has like all the horror movie elements too. Like, so it's not just this sort of like weird Godzilla versus King Kong silly thing. Right. It both delivers in the fun horror movie front.
Cool.
And on the versus aspect. The promise of that premise.
Awesome.
And it's like modern day, so it has those sensibilities and is sort of going back, like it has elements of like finding the old VCR, I think, and stuff that. So I think you might appreciate it, and I hope our listeners would too.
All right, I'll check it out.
Great. So we're gonna live figure out, I guess, what we're gonna watch next time because we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we have not talked about it.
I mean, were you down still watch some more J horror?
Yeah, I'm into it. I thought this was gonna be more graphic because I've sort of like the Audition.
Audition, yeah.
Oh yeah, Audition, which I am scared of.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was gonna be more torture-y.
I know that movie. You have to see it. I've seen it, recently enough that I don't feel like.
Is it not torture-y? Isn't it about torture?
No, I was just saying as far as one that we'd watch or not.
Oh, I get you.
I don't think. We could watch.
What else is there? You know this world more than I do.
I kind of wanted to watch one. Let's see. There was Carved, the Slit-Mouthed Woman.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ. I wanted to see Tetsuo Iron Man, I think it's called, from the late 80s, the black and white one.
Yeah. I'd be into that.
Let's watch that then.
Okay, cool.
Let me just make sure I have the title right. Yeah. Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you all here for that next time then.
Yeah. Where can you find us, Ryan?
We have a website and an email.
No, we don't have a website yet, do we?
We're
well, we will. Good point.
So check out the website.
Dismemberinghorror.com.
Probably. And our Twitter is at Dismem.
Nope. At DisHorrorPod.
DisHorrorPod.
Yeah. And then also we have a Gmail, which is dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Great. And I'm at RyanMcDuffie.com.
And I'm at TimAslin. No, not .com. Just Tim. I'm just at Tim Aslin.
Great. Right. I am not at symbol RyanMcDuffie.com. You can just find all my things and things from my website.
Yeah, go find Ryan's things.
Great. Thank you.
What else?
That's it.
Oh, that's
We're
it?
signing off.
Aww.
Thank you so much for listening to this. This is a big one.
Yeah.
And Tim, it's been fun as always.
I love your outfit.
Thanks.
It's so good.
I don't usually wear printed shirts, but my sister got this for me at the Twin Peaks event recently.
It's perfect.
Cool.
It has your color palette too.
Thank you.
I love it.
Great.
All right, buddy. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye. Good morning.
Ah!